Today we are in the Central Business District, or CBD as most people call it. This is the business and legal district in downtown New Orleans. Behind me is One Shell Square. Oh, there it is. The tallest building in Louisiana. Like many of the tall buildings down here in the CBD, it was built for a petroleum company. And now I think there's a lot of Shell company offices there, but also a lot of other businesses. A lot of the really tall buildings, which were originally for petroleum companies, have been made into hotels now. There's so many hotels downtown. There's a lot of really nice artwork right on Poydras. Here's a sculpture called The Guide by Phil Proctor. This is Gallier Hall, and it was originally built to be City Hall. It's still owned by the city, but it's no longer like a government building. It's used for special occasions, receptions, teas. The mayor has a big platform out here during Mardi Gras, and she or he watches all the parades go by from the front of Gallier Hall. This really pretty square behind me is Lafayette Square. It's named after the Marquis de Lafayette, who really never spent a whole lot of time in New Orleans, but definitely was much admired, especially by the Americans here. Plus he was French, so that helped. It's a beautiful square right in the middle of the legal district now, and usually on Wednesdays between March and June, they have a weekly free festival with music and food. It's a lot of fun. Here is a federal government building, and you can see this design, and that's very typical of 1930s Art Deco style. Even though Lafayette Square is named after the Marquis de Lafayette, there's not a statue of him in this park. The one behind me right here is Ben Franklin. A lot of the beautiful buildings that were built between 100 and 150 years ago for business have been now turned into hotels. Here is a mural of the Buddy Bolden Band. So if you look up there, there's that one figure that has the sort of halo around his head, and that is it's a painting, a mural of the only known picture of Buddy Bolden, and he was considered the king of jazz. On the edge of the mural it says "One Time in New Orleans." This was a hashtag campaign that was started by the Convention and Visitors Bureau of New Orleans in 2018 to celebrate our tricentennial. So if you go to the hashtag One Time in New Orleans on Instagram, you'll see a lot of good New Orleans stories. This Holiday Inn has a giant clarinet painted on the side of it. This building behind me is City Hall. It is probably one of the ugliest buildings in New Orleans, but it is our City Hall. And right now, I think there's a couple of protests going on. I'm in the little park across from it called Duncan Plaza. There is the Mercedes-Benz Superdome where our football team, the Saints, play. This is the Cancer Survivors Plaza, right in the middle of downtown, and it's a nice little park with lots of columns from different cultures and a tribute to people who have survived cancer. Across the street is the Little Gem Saloon, and that is one of the earliest places where jazz was played. Behind me is Le Pavillon Hotel. This is a beautiful old hotel right on Poydras Street in the CBD, and allegedly Napoleon's bathtub is in there. This row of houses behind me looks very much like houses that you would see in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Baltimore, other American cities. This was the original American neighborhood. When the Americans came here after the Louisiana Purchase, they lived on this area on the other side of Canal Street. But I think it looked too much like the French Quarter for them. So eventually they were to move further and further upriver into big houses with large yards. But this neighborhood is still called the American sector. The CBD is just a great mix of old and new right next to each other.
So even though the central business district is all about government and business, it's also about music and art because it's still New Orleans.